at home. We don't need no violence, got no time for all you radicals. Screw your status quo, we're not animals. I won't kneel for the anthem, cause the flag is what I'm standing for. In America, your freedom ain't free. In America, got soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you pack your bags.
Good evening, America. Welcome to the corner of church and state where there is no separation.
It's an upgrade.
I am your friendly neighborhood bearded weirdo, Nolan Bryan, coming at you loud and proud as I always do, and with this magnificence upon my face. And right here, sitting to my left, you're right if you're looking at the screen, is my best friend, my compadre, the one, the only, the Pastor Gary Podosek. How you doing today, brother?
I got stabbed today.
You got stabbed? How'd you get stabbed?
And I'm not trying to profile, but, you know, he was a person of color.
Okay.
And he stabbed me today.
He stabbed you?
He did. Straight up.
Who stabbed you?
My coworker. It was exactly. He didn't do it on purpose. It's a joke. But he did put the blade on the table and kind of hit it in a way so that like when I would go to grab something, it would, but
that's not cool. That's not cool. Oh, you finger. Wait, does it hurt? Let me see your other finger.
You know that rodent that's dying on your face? I'll get rid of it for you.
No, you will not. How's everybody doing? It is May, man. May already. That's right, the greatest month of the year. Why? Because my birthday's in it. That's why. Hoorah.
You gotta celebrate your mama.
Celebrate my mama.
No, just Joe's mama.
Joe's mama?
Yeah, Joe mama.
Joe mama?
Yeah.
Joe Biden mama?
No, just Joe mama.
Well, I figured at this point, isn't Jill Joe's mama?
Oh, stop. Stop now.
But it is May 2nd, and
You are incorrect, sir.
Oh, no, you're wrong.
You're on old back channel time.
It's May 3rd. Yeah, I was going off the old schedule.
Third.
Yeah, it's the third. It's the third. I'm rip roaring today. I'm on an hour and a half sleep.
You know what? But it's a good day though, because we got some.
Oh yeah, we do. We are
news.
going to bounce off of what was originally going to be scheduled. Originally, if you follow me on TikTok and everything else, I have been stating that we are going to be talking about the Pledge of Allegiance today. But today we are going to be talking about another American value instead, because it's apropos for what's been going on today.
Yeah,
and part of yesterday.
Well, yeah, and not for nothing, but like our last video, we. In God we trust. No, not in God we trust.
Yeah, it was in God we trust.
One nation under God.
One nation under God.
We really did cover a lot of the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance.
One nation under God is actually in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah, so this one we're going to talk about, for those of you who have been living under a rock and did not realize this, yesterday was it? Or even Friday,
it was
maybe
late,
Friday.
No, it was late yesterday. It was
late yesterday, there was a leak in Washington, D.C. What a surprise. But this leak was a good leak.
Well, and not yes and no.
Okay. The information of the leak was good.
Yes.
The leak coming out, we know, is just going to incite, more mostly peaceful protests. Because the snowflakes are not going to like this one, but it looks like...
Not going to?
Huh?
You mean already...
Dislike it, already crying at the sky?
Yes.
Well, I mean, the good thing is that they were already looking at the sky screaming because of Twitter, and now they're doing it for another reason, too.
I'm wondering, I think they're just trying to find a way to repurpose those vagina hats. So I'm thinking that's probably what they're going to do.
I think today's episode, we're going to see if we can get our producer.
Spit take?
Yeah, if we get it.
Oh, I would love it. If I can score that, I know I'm doing good.
Because he's already twice now had to hold it in.
But think about it. I mean, you got to think about it now. I mean, because those hats have been pretty much like, worn out now. Oh, that's bad contextually. I'm sorry. I apologize. I really do. I apologize.
I hope they washed them.
But they're gonna. You can make another use for these hats now. You got to think about it. Like they could get creative.
Well, I mean, they could dye them brown and be in solidarity with Amber Heard.
That's disgusting. Let's not go there.
Well, I mean, I heard that Mr. Hankey was doing the.
Stop it.
It was the final witness.
Stop. Enough.
But now we're going to talk about another value. another American value, which is probably a value that we should all have, whether you're from this country or not, and that is the value of life. And what we were talking about is that late last night, Judge Alito, his writings on a particular subject were leaked. His opinion on a particular subject was leaked. And this opinion looks like it's going to show that Roe v. Wade is going to be eradicated.
Overturned.
Eradicated. I like that word better.
You could say it, but it's going to be overturned.
It's going to be overturned and no longer legal precedent in this country. Now, what you're going to hear is you're going to hear all these...
they're taking our abortions away!
Which is not what it does.
No,
what
it does
does,
not.
what it does is it relinquishes the power that the federal government stole from the states and gives it back to the states to make their own decisions on the subject. Now, in my opinion, there's certain states that shouldn't be allowed to make decisions on this, like California, who wants to continue to do abortions 28 weeks after the baby has been born.
So here's my full-on stance on this, and this is where I'm going to probably anger both sides. So you can't get mad at me. I'm not taking just the strict conservative line here, and celebrate.
He's playing Johnny Fence Rider.
No,
and
I'm not
riding
playing,
down the middle.
I'm not playing Johnny Fence Rider. I'm giving you perspectives from both sides, because here's the thing, right? The left argument is going to be that they're taking away abortions, they're getting rid of our ability to,
I wish
choose,
we were.
right? The fact is that you're right. It's 100% just pushing it back to states. So now the states get to regulate how they want to handle the abortion law in their own state, and you have to deal with that per that state. So whatever the state's ruling is, as far as it goes to, like our crappy state's still going to let you kill babies. I mean, it's just, there's no fact about it. That's what they're going to do.
But states like Oklahoma, which have outrightly made it illegal. Texas hasn't made it outrightly illegal.
No.
Texas is the heartbeat bill. Oklahoma,
which is a really good bill. I mean,
Oklahoma's actually made it illegal, period, for any medical professional to do an abortion whatsoever, unless it's between life or death of the
right,
mother
which
and
is
baby.
where it was before anyway. So here's the thing. So yeah, the left people are going to get really outraged, and they're thinking that they're taking it away. No, they're not. So if you're conservative and you think abortion's going to be gone and it's goodbye byes, it's not going away.
I wish.
So sorry to break it to you guys. Sorry to crush your little bubbles, but it's not disappearing. But as far as conservatives are concerned, what does that mean for us? What does it actually bring? What it does bring, and you nailed it, is it goes now into state law, and it's no longer a federally mandated policy. So what that now means is that when you have, for say, a person who wants to, say, have an abortion, and they believe that they have this right, this fundamental right to have an abortion, and you're in a state that doesn't permit it or won't allow it, or won't the medical professionals
you can't go to the Supreme Court crying about it. You
won't be able to take it to the Supreme Court, cry about it, and demand that they do it. And not only that, but now the whole thing that's off the table is what I believe, and many conservatives believe, is that it's no longer going to be a taxpayer-funded process. Okay, and that's where this gets into the bigger process now. So now you're talking about states having to legislate this themselves. They don't have federal precedent anymore, so it's going to make it very difficult for them to get.
I'm sorry, Planned Parenthood, you're going to lose your money.
Well, so I don't know necessarily if that's true either, because they still have ways to figure that out, I'm sure, because they can just still claim that they're giving mammograms even though they don't. But that's besides.
I give like one a year.
But here's the thing: when you really want to talk about this concept, and what we're really talking about, the value of life, right, and this being an American value. Here's where this is going to really start to take root, and what Justice Alito, right, is if you get a chance and you can read the notes, because they are leaked, and I'm pretty sure if you just look it up you'll find it, and you read what he wrote. The things that were being said there is talking about the constitutional rights to an abortion, and there isn't actually a place in the Constitution that lists or labels this as a right. Okay, you have a right to free speech, right? You have the ability to say whatever you want.
You have a right to life.
Well, hold on, we're going to get to that. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is one of your God-given rights. That's what makes this country so unique and different, right? Because we recognize that we are created by God with these inalienable rights. And when we had stated that these are the inalienable rights of human beings, here's where this gets real deep, guys. If you don't value life, you can then take every single one of those constitutional rights and throw them in the trash. Because what you're basically stating is that you're not a human being. And this is the stuff. I mean, literally, we're watching it on
We're just watching a video
before we got into this, that there's these people who are like protesting at these courtrooms or whatever, claiming that the baby isn't a human being. And I'm like, if you're going to sit here, if you're going to sit here and argue from a pedestal about what a human being is, you could basically, and I mean, let's be honest, let's take it into like
that
the current
individual
hemisphere.
probably wasn't really a human being to begin with.
Well, like no, but like they're removing their humanity. I mean, the transgender movement alone is literally trying to literally destroy every ounce of humanity that is in them with all kinds of whatever confusing symbols they can throw at it. And then you have all these other different, gender, binary, non-binary, all these things that are trying to literally subtract humanity.
This is where I've got to do a better job of sharing my behind the pay window from Crowder, because he did more of the gender flags.
And I didn't even watch it, so you can know that I'm coming from a completely different.
There's actually a flag. It's kind of rainbowed like the normal flag, but it's got a magnifying glass on it, and it's called Explore-a-Gender. That's a gender, the Explore-a-Gender.
That's ridiculous. But
then there's the black flag, completely black, nothing there, and it's called the Hidden Gender.
So they didn't find it yet?
No, it's somebody who wants to hide what their gender actually is. The Explore-a-Gender can not only...
So what is it, like a scratch-off? Like you get in bed with that kind of person and you scratch it off and you go, hey, oh, no, that's not going to mix for me.
Well, the Explore-a-Gender, you explore all the genders by changing your genders at any given point to be whatever one you want to explore next.
They do understand that the metric to which they have set for genders is at infinite.
Oh, yeah.
There's no limit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
all right.
yeah.
So, and you're telling me there's humanity in that?
No.
There isn't.
No, there's pure evil in that.
Well, it is an evil ideology, but what I look at, right, is from the percentage of people who then lose themselves, right? So talk about, we're going to go back to the Roe v. Wade thing in just a minute, but I really want to finish up my thought here. If this type of stuff stems from the ability to not value the life of that child that is being conceived, right, in conception.
Exactly.
Right, and you don't have value in that life. And I think we've had this conversation here multiple times. You start to water down the value of actual human life, which means then the person who's standing right in front of you becomes somebody that you find disposable. They're no longer a person that you care about because you don't value that life. You don't value your own life.
Nobody should be shocked with how many school shootings there are committed by students when all you do is teach students that it's okay to kill a baby in the womb. So if they've got no respect for human life, it should be no wonder that they're getting whatever weapon they can get their hands onto, walking into a school and going to town, because they've already been taught that life doesn't matter.
And you're right, but here's the follow-up point to that, right? And this is where I think this is... And some people might say this is a straw man argument. Okay, fine. I don't have facts right now, but I bet I can find them.
Where is the scarecrow here?
No.
Did he find his brain?
You understand what I'm saying. So when you look at the confusion that is being processed into your children in these education systems right now.
You mean internment camps, indoctrination camps?
Stop. So, and I agree with you. Yes, that's all true. But what I'm saying is that when they're spreading this confusion and they're giving you these gender pronouns, all this stuff, and they're letting you find yourself, and they think that this is like funny in a sense that, like, not funny haha, but like it's an exploring yourself and you get to learn about yourself and all this stuff, and they think that this is a great fun process.
And they have their transformation closets.
What you don't know is that you're confusing the child. And so what happens is now the child has an identity crisis. And all these kids going through these schools right now are suffering with major identity crises, right? All right, so now they don't know who they are. They don't know what they are. They don't have value for the life that they have. What you are setting yourself up for, ladies and gentlemen, this current administration is literally setting up for one of the greatest mass suicide generations known to mankind. I cannot support this with actual right now evidence, because guess what?
I wouldn't say it's not just going to be mass suicide though.
These kids haven't gotten to that level yet, because guess what's going to happen when these kids graduate high school and they have to move into this little quadrant of world called real world, and the real world punches them in the mouth because it doesn't tolerate their stuff.
Well, it doesn't care.
No.
That's the thing. Your job is never going to care.
It's that it's not related, right? You coming in to work at, let's say, I don't know, like some kind of business, you know, I don't know, let's say you're a secretary doing a desk job or whatever, and you have to file papers and all that. Your boss does not care about your pronouns. He doesn't care about what you do at home. He doesn't care about your personal life. He doesn't care about what you go and date. He doesn't care about what kind of food you eat. He doesn't care. What he cares about is that you got the job done. And the second you make your job and your life about you and what is going on in your personal life and not about your job, you're not going to have a job.
Exactly.
And that real world's going to kick you in the teeth, and you're going to be thinking you're owed something because that's what they've been telling you. You're supposed to get a trophy because you're proud and you participated and you did something and you celebrated yourself. No, that makes you selfish.
Yep.
And so you are not actually going to be able to function and operate in the current world's agendas, and you're not going to change them. Because whether you think we're a bigot, okay, fine, maybe I am. I don't think I'm a bigot. I'm very tolerant of a lot of different
I'm a big
people.
Nolan. I'm not an it, so I can't be a big it.
That just made my coffee go bad, dude. That joke was so. You need to repent for that joke. You really do. There might be a flogging after this show just for that one. That was. You call my jokes bad. You call my jokes.
Remember,
bad.
hour and a half of sleep. Hour and a half of sleep. This is what you get. This is better. This is better than hangry Nolan. This is just sleep deprived Nolan.
I'll let it slide this time. So I want to get us back. So basically, the long and short of what I'm saying is that when you are leading people to not value life, okay, you teach them about abortions, you teach them about their rights to an abortion, you teach them how basically that, you know, babies are just a mass of cells and they're not anything of any particular value, compare them to other animals, blah, blah,
you're
blah.
You're a clump of cells, I'm a clump of cells.
That joke literally happened today, okay? I'm like, at what point does this no longer matter, right? Then you can go, oh, well, my 25-year-old son, I don't like the way he's developing into a human being anymore. I think I'm going to abort him.
Late-term abortion. No, just kidding.
That's called murder? No, it's semantics. It's a word. We're just changing the definitions. Oh, wait. No, they wouldn't just change definitions of words, would they? They won't think they would do that, would they?
No.
No, the government wouldn't just change the actual definition of a word to make it more congruent with what their plans are.
Well, vaccine at one time meant that it actually kept you from getting it. Now vaccine just doesn't do anything but gives you a shot.
So what you're telling me is they do change definitions and meanings of words?
Well, apparently now instead of they meaning multiple things, like them over there, now a person can be called they or them.
All right,
so I still think that they're legion, and we are talking about a they them in their head.
Well, so either way, though, then that's probably not good precedent. Then
no,
so this could potentially.
But I mean, they do have a
watch out, kids.
They do have a pregnant.
Your parents might still abort you.
They do, but they do have
15.
They do have the pregnant male emoji on phones now.
No, it's just Bill Gates.
No. It does look like him. I saw the side by side.
Just like him. But so back to the Roe v. Wade discussion, because
the other thing I do somewhat agree with what you're saying about the mass suicide, but it's not just going to be a suicide. We're going to see two different things happening, and I believe this for a while, especially on the other side, which will also lead to suicide, but later on when they get out of it. And that is because of all this mass confusion with sexuality and gender and all this different stuff that they're trying to peddle into your kids and tell that it's okay for a 3-year-old to stroke himself or to do whatever they want to themselves. It feels nice, blah, blah, blah. Doing all those things, they're grooming them. They're going to, most kids, massive majority, we're talking like upwards of like 80 to 90% of all kids kidnapped and brought into the sex trade are 10 and 11-year-olds. By 10 and 11 now, they've got that with what they want to teach these kids, they will have them already pre-programmed that everything is okay, and it's okay if said adult touches you this way. Just don't tell your parents. And you're allowed to like it. Just don't tell your parents. And they're already telling them that. Yeah. They're telling them not to tell the parents. So you're going to see a massive amount of ultra sexualization that will lead to either sex trafficking or more prostitution
And look,
in this country.
I hate to
and
I
suicide.
hate to pull that thing from Crowder, but that Discovery Channel show has got to be literally canned immediately.
Oh.
It really does.
Oh yeah.
The trans kids or whatever.
Trans kids, yeah.
Whatever it's called. It literally, and I don't care about the show. I don't care about what the show's talking about. I really don't care about that. But I think it was Dave. He actually said something. And it's like every single judge and person watching those drag queen
should
shows
be made
of kids
to fill out a
should
form.
literally be put immediately into like a pedophilia plan. Like you need to go right on
Megan's Law.
Megan's Law. Like
Megan's
you need to
Law.
go on Megan's list because you cannot watch that and tell me you're not a pedophile. You're watching kids dressed in scantily clad clothes
And dance on
performing dances
stripper
and
stages.
stuff like that, and you're gonna go, oh yeah, no, I'm a civilized human being watching this. This is perfectly okay. No, it's not okay. You shouldn't watch it at all.
So
I pressed the button, didn't I?
So
Sorry.
Project.
It's okay.
Project.
So for me personally, I think what this all comes down to and what you're circling around is accountability. The abortions, everything else, they're not accountable for any of their actions.
No, and they're not. And so what Roe v. Wade literally was doing was basically exactly that. You're right.
It was giving everybody a scapegoat.
Roe v. Wade was a scapegoat for people to basically claim, I can go get this done because, well, the government said I can. Well, yeah, the government says you can do a lot of things, but you probably shouldn't if it doesn't fit your, if it's not good for you. Like, I mean, seriously. Just because the government continues to, I'll give you a prime example. Just because the government continues to give you a welfare check every month doesn't mean you should stay on welfare. It's below minimum wage. It's not a good way of living. It's just to help you get out of a hard spot and get a job.
Yeah, that's all it's supposed to be
But
for.
when you live off of it, you live in poverty and you're pushing, you're hurting yourself, you're pushing the gap.
You're also draining the system and you're killing the country financially speaking.
I'm not going to go into that because I don't.
I will.
I don't blame them for that necessarily. I blame the government because
I blame.
I blame the
JB.
government. Well, yeah, but I blame the government because the government didn't put a cap on it. The government didn't say, okay, up to and including this much, and then you're
Or
done.
LBJ, not JB.
Like if you
LBJ.
don't stop the problem and you keep funneling money to the problem doesn't go away. You just infested it.
No,
It's all
it's the Democratic plantation.
Well, right, and that's what Roe v. Wade was kind of. That's why a lot of Democrats ran off of that ticket. They ran. They run off of.
I saw a
pro-choice
video
ticket.
today. You know what I saw a video of? I saw a video back in. It was back when Biden was VP. Of him talking about how we can all agree that Americans want that abortion should only be done as a last resort. They should be done minimally. And they should be done alive. But now that, somebody's hands up his rear end and controlling him, he's saying other things.
Well,
I mean, he doesn't even believe his own shtick.
Well, yeah, but here's the thing. When it comes to Roe v. Wade, when you have a legal precedent and it opens up a door, right, how do I put this? If I turn around and I said, okay, the government is going to give $1,000 to $1,000 a week to people who accidentally lose their thumbs in some kind of freak accident. Now, that seems like a really rare condition of people, right? You probably are looking at, maybe they might even budget
So you get
it out.
people that work in produce places and do it on the bandsaw on purpose.
That's exactly my point, right? So here's my point, right? You say that, you open up a door and you say, okay, and they look at it and go, well, we know there's probably only about 0.25% of the population that has this rare disease of not having thumbs by some rare accident, right? And what they're really talking about is maybe like a natural deformity. But they write the law in an ambiguous manner. Roe v. Wade was an ambiguous precedent because it was about a woman's right to privacy. It didn't actually deal with abortion. It dealt with them having the privacy of their medical practice, whatever that medical thing was that they were dealing with. They would then say, okay, hey,
and we're back.
So they had this precedent where they said, that women should be able to be privately to able to handle
Their
their
medical records
affairs,
should be private. Yep.
And so Roe v. Wade was an extension of that privacy, and that's where the rulings come in. But then you have other cases that come in and see that and use that in abortion case law, and then because that becomes now the precedent, it becomes kind of like a trickle-down thing. You've opened up the door. So going back to my thumb example, if you say like, oh, we're going to budget a certain amount of money for people that have these natural deformities, but you write the bill in an ambiguous manner, you're going to have I'm going to go maybe about 5% of the population, when you based it off of a quarter, that are going to go literally into a meat saw, and our producer over there works in the meat department. I don't know if you would. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't do it. But I bet you you might work with somebody who might just go zip, and zip his thumbs off. Now, why would he do that? Because he knows that he's getting a guaranteed $1,000 government check every week. That's 4 G's in the bank a month. He probably doesn't make that working where he does. And so he's going to go, no thumbs? 4 G? Sure. And he's going to do it. And so what Roe v. Wade did is it opened up the door for what became the sawmill. And that's what people like us would go and sit in front of and say, hey, the baby's life matters. These women that would go into these things, are going in there because they had a one-night stand and they got pregnant by it and they didn't want to have the baby because guess what? They can't go and have another one-night stand if they're pregnant with a child. So guess what they don't want to have? That interruption. That baby became an inconvenience. And so now it became an open door for you to go and get that baby chopped up.
And for those of you who instantaneously want to jump to what about those with rape and incest? Okay, you were talking about
less than 1%.
Less than 1% of all abortion cases are due to that. Okay, so now if you want to argue, okay, let's argue.
Hold on. Then make a case point in law that has that as the exception.
But they don't want that. They'll say
bring the rape kit and prove it, and which by the way, don't even get into well they don't give rape kits. They don't give rape kits. Yes, they do.
Yes, they do.
If you claim that you were raped. Okay, we're not talking about, I understand, I know. And by the way, I found out about that. You can't talk about somebody being.
Oh.
You can't profile somebody and bring them up. You can mention what the action is. You can talk about the evil action of rape happening, but you can't talk about somebody.
You can't bring up
somebody. So, and that's why I'm speaking on it from a very basic level of if that were to happen, and you're talking about that happening to somebody, then they have to present that kit. They have to. It has to happen.
And if it was all about that, if that's all they...
if that happens and you don't go to the police, which again, that is an even smaller percentage than the less than 1% of people that do have that problem, you're talking about fractions on fractions. So the case you can't make cases in law for the micro percentage of the entire
Why not?
United
They're
States
doing it with
population.
everything else.
That's the problem with our country. That's the problem. That is
the
exactly
loud
the problem.
minority is attempting to change everything against
Oil
us.
in my blood, brother.
And
Oiling.
Look, anybody who knows me knows I have been a staunch, very, very staunch aggressor against abortion. My mother, at one point, almost did abort me. Thankfully, she did not. But I've been against it wholeheartedly.
Is he here?
Yeah. Well, no. She went to the clinic or the hospital, and the nurse told her to look in the mirror several times a day and say, every time she looked in the mirror, say 10 times, I don't want this baby. Told her to do it for a week. She said she couldn't even do it for 2 days. So this nurse changed my mother's perspective. And therefore my mother kept me. So I've always been aggressively against abortion. Not only do they lie to these girls about what actually happens in an abortion, because when you actually educate a person about what actually happens, the only ones that get mad about it, the only ones that seriously get mad about it are people that hate life or men who want to stick up, who say they're sticking up for women.
Yeah, and by the way, if you're one of those, stop it. You look like an idiot.
And no, you can't get pregnant either. No, it'll never happen.
I mean, no, seriously, you do. You literally look like an idiot because you're turning around and you're fighting. And look, if you want to fight for women and you want to fight for their rights and you want to fight for their all this stuff, why don't you stand up for them when somebody says something horrible about them and you're right there instead of being a coward,
or punches them, or hits them, or abuses them in any way, shape, or form,
right.
or dresses up like a girl and goes and plays women's sports.
Why don't you go stand up for all the female athletes that are getting their records obliterated by guys who dress in drag?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that. Why don't you stand up for those girls because they need an advocate?
Yep.
Nobody's standing up for them.
And so it all boils down. And it's not just an American value. It should be a human value. It should be a human value that all life is sacred.
Everybody.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Unless you're Xi Jinping.
No, not all life is sacred. All innocent life is sacred. If you're a murderer sitting up in jail,
you're a dictator.
Your life, or you're a dictator, or you're Jeff Dunham's puppet in the White House.
I thought you were talking about Ahmed for a minute. I really did. Honestly, I was like, "Oh man, don't go there. Please don't go there."
No, I'm talking about Walter.
Because they don't value life either. They don't value that.
No, but you have to value. We must get back to the point where all of us in this country, in this world, value life.
Yeah.
Nothing is going to change for the better until we get down to the very basic thing that everybody has. Anybody that's alive today, you have one thing, and we all share it, and that is life, period. You may want to argue where life comes from. You may want to argue how it all started. You may want to do all that, okay? You're wrong, we're right, but that's just another argument.
It's the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah, God said it, and bang, it was there.
There was Sheldon, and there was Leonard, and there's some blonde girl.
Penny. But
No, that's my cat.
no, it was also the blonde.
Yeah, no, that's my cat. I know. I'm just
His praying cat over here.
I'm just
His cat that actually prays for its meals.
Yes, it does. It's well trained.
But
thank you.
we have to get back to the sanctity of life. When we finally get back to that basic understanding, things in this world can change. Will it instantly happen? No. Are you always going to have people that want to eradicate life for their own enjoyment? Yes. But if we can get back to what this country was all about, and the fact that we just wanted to live life freely in a country of our own, under a certain set of rules, under a certain set of guidelines and rights, and making sure that the government protects those rights. Otherwise, we get rid of you. We did it in 1776. We can do it again. But we have to get back to that. And this country could get better through that. But, unfortunately, with these numbskulls, if they had to finally admit that life is sacred, then they'd have to admit that there was an architect of life. And that's the one thing they don't want to admit.
Well, see, that's what I was gonna say, because you were like kind of dancing around it, and I was like, oh, why is he dancing around it? Just put it out there. This goes down to a different level of subject at this point, because the sacredness of life boils down to the actual recognition of God creating life.
Yep.
And if you can't recognize the creator, you won't recognize life, and if you don't recognize life, then you get the trickle down. So really, in reality, if this nation's going to get back to valuing life, valuing
we have to value the creator of life,
Constitution, valuing all these things that we see in America that are worth holding on to. The pride of the American flag, the pride of this nation, the pride that we have as patriots and as Americans in this country stems from our faith and our belief in God. And, you might think that guy driving a truck, with "In God We Trust" and the American flag on it, he's just some redneck hillbilly, blah, 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 blah.
And he might be.
You know what? I don't care what you call him, but what I call him is an American patriot. And that's what more of this country needs, is more American patriots that are going to stand up for the freedoms that this country has. Because, honest to goodness, the way even our military is going right now, I don't have confidence in them standing up for
looking forward to the rainbow camo?
No. Because it's terribly ineffective. Unless you're literally going to Ireland standing by the pot of gold. Only then are you really doing a good job. But better get in the single file, because if not, you're going to be
instead of it being the few, the proud, the army, it'll be
that's the Marines.
The few, the proud, the Marines.
The few, the proud, the Marines.
Instead of it being the few, the proud, the Marines, it'll be it's magically delicious.
look, and you know, joking aside, but like the guy, and I forget who said it, but if it boiled down and there was an insurgents coming onto this border and one of our borders on this country,
TikTok, the redneck.
if we are waiting for the military to show up, let me tell you, the American patriots that you call rednecks are going to be right there with their shotguns, their AR-15s, and they're going to be ready to go. And there are probably, I'm not going to lie, there probably are a few of them that have tanks. Okay? So we wait. What are you going to do if they come at you with tanks? Oh, trust me. I'm pretty sure we got them.
Look. They may not have a tank as you know.
No.
It'll be a homemade tank.
No. They probably bought like a Sherman tank at an auction.
Go to the Tennessee National Reserve.
Restored it, and they probably put a diesel engine in it, and it
has
probably
a diesel engine in it
and
already.
no, they probably like put a Hemi in it. You know, and they probably put
not enough pistons for it.
and they probably
It's a
put like a
huge
drop
diesel
kit
engine.
on it. Okay, and they got
Why would they have a
dude just run.
Spanish?
Some of them are. Have you seen some of the most patriotic people that I have met in this country are Hispanics?
What
legal
could be bouncing down the road, Hava Maria.
You know what? And if he's going to the border to kick him out, I'm all down. I'm seriously, I'm down for him. Go, dude, go, hombre.
So listen, we need to circle back, but I have to ask
Hey.
Listen.
No quoting that ginger.
Listen.
No quoting the ginger.
We don't circle back here.
Yeah. So we know where your stance is on abortions, but I would like to hear the godly perspective on what you would consist of, what exactly abortion you would say be okay with.
Medically necessary to preserve the spouse's life if she so chooses.
So not by grape or anything like that, right? Just medical.
I stand on the precedent. I stand on the precedent that, and as sad as those things that could happen, mishappen, it is not the child's fault. And believe it or not, I have met people who were products of rape, and those kids turn out to be some of the best, awesomest kids in the world. And you know what? There's I know it's not true, so this isn't fact check true, okay? But there was this old story that came around, and it talked about a person who had a violent husband, a woman who had a violent husband, and he would force himself on her incessantly, and she got pregnant one time, and he beat her and forcefully aborted the baby, and then had another child conceived later down the road, and she hid it from him, and she delivered the baby, even though it was a product of an abusive relationship, and technically it was rape, right? It was forced intercourse, which is technically the classical definition of it. Okay, it's forced intercourse. It's not what you wanted. It was forced upon you, and she gave birth to that child, and that child was Albert Einstein. Now I know that's not true. Okay, but keep in context, right? Keep in context that you don't know what that child's potential is. You don't know what that child's destiny is. You don't have any way to know, because that child hasn't come into its full-grown potential.
If you take an ultrasound of a baby conceived under loving relationship, or you take an ultrasound of a baby from is a product of rape.
Whatever, yeah.
There is no difference.
You can't tell.
You can't tell the difference.
And that's really the key. And so
that's where I stand.
I know that some people feel like, oh well, you don't have a heart. No, I do. I feel horrible. I feel horrible for the woman, and I believe that women and this supports kind of what you do in PBW, but like women need advocates. Right? The more advocates there are out there, the more chances there are for people that are, pressing themselves into those types of women and taking advantage of those situations, that if they know they have an out, they know they have an advocate, they know they have somebody who's going to fight that battle for them all the way up to the end, so that they can have that child safely. And even if they can't keep it, that child still has a chance.
There are hundreds of thousands of men and women in this country who would gladly.
Hold on, and here's the biggest catch right now. And what people don't understand is that the money, the amount of money the government funds into abortion law and abortion cases and abortion things like this. If you pull that back and you remove that off of the table, and the government were to not change laws, not change the tax spending, but if they were to change it and push that into adoption laws and give more.
They need to get rid of most of the red tape that they.
That's my point, right? So if you open it up more, and an adoption doesn't cost you more to adopt a child than it does to actually deliver the baby, for Pete's sake, then maybe you would end up having a place where a woman who doesn't really want to keep the child does deliver the child, puts it up for adoption, and it's an affordable exchange. Where now it's not hardship on the mother,
cheaper to go to
it's
another
not
country.
hardship on that family, and now you open up the ability for these children to have good lives, good growing, good growth, good, hope, for their futures. And I think that's where we really should be looking at. And again, it goes back to that major point. It's that valuing of the life. Even though you might not like the way this comes to being, if you value the life, you look at the potential in that life and you go, I still want the best for this person. And even though my life took a sour turn, that doesn't mean that their life has to end.
And always, and see, this is something that everybody, again, I'm a person who's dead against it. I don't care the reason. There shouldn't be a reason for abortion ever.
I would only say medically necessary.
I don't even think of that. Nope.
Well, I think it's up to the woman at that point.
Look, I'm not saying that.
Medically necessary. Because if it's I'm going to die and the baby's going to live or not live, or I need to have this,
Look,
then
that's
different.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't have that option when they're in that medical situation.
But you're also still talking about a time point which wouldn't even fall into the lines like abortion laws currently fall into. You're talking about maybe that kind of condition comes up until about like 8 or 9 weeks. So you're still talking about.
Look.
It can very infrequently come into like a late, but that the baby's still in the womb. You're not talking about aborting the child.
No. I get what you're saying. I'm still against it. I believe they should have that choice when it comes to medical reasons and only medical reasons. Yeah, but I still don't agree with it. I'm just never going to agree with it ever. Extinguishing life in any way is wrong.
Well, it's kind of inversely extinguishing life at that point. You're extinguishing the mother's life at that point.
No.
Yeah, you are.
No.
Absolutely. You sure? Yeah, you are. If you make a law that says absolutely under no circumstances, never, ever, ever can a baby be aborted.
How do you know that wasn't the time they were supposed to go?
Hold on. If you say that, I'm just letting you know, if you say that, you then set a precedent.
I didn't say that they needed to say that. I'm saying that.
Well, then that's
what I'm saying is that.
That's where I just think you get. That's where I think the inverse laws create more.
No. I don't mean make a law that says that. What I'm saying is I believe that they should have that choice. Medical reasons. I still just don't agree with.
No different than you go to a hospital and they say, "Hey, look, you have a tumor." You can go, "Nope, I don't want to go under a knife." Okay, that's your choice. But that's your choice. At that point, you chose that.
Oh yeah. I knew of a woman in Philadelphia who she was pregnant. She got cancer. They told her that she could easily beat the cancer. She had to get chemo.
And she didn't want to do it.
And she asked, she goes, well, if I take chemo while pregnant, well, what happened to the baby? It most likely is going to die.
Nope.
And she goes, well, all right, well, can I wait till after the baby's born? And they're like, you will most likely die. And she chose to carry.
And that's where I think that is a perfectly fine, that decision, again, left to the mother. They get that choice, unless there's, again,
but I definitely
circumstances, and again, there's also, and even in that, there comes a whole bunch of other legalities, because then there's like, things that are in like couples arrangements and things. That. There's all kinds of other legalities that can come into the waters and muddy that up real quick. But I don't want to talk about all that, but it's again really in key when we're talking about Roe v. Wade, and I kind of wanted to talk about the leak, but we don't need to.
The leak.
We don't need to really talk about it because
the thing is that it was leaked.
It was leaked. Let's just leave it at this. It was leaked. It was leaked intentionally to
bring forth mostly peaceful protests.
No, I don't even think it's necessarily brought up to do that. I think it's more or less brought up to
Bring out the pink hats again.
to instill fear into the justices. So it's a form of control. You're trying to sway the.
Yeah.
It hasn't come out yet. The decision hasn't been rendered yet. Is not overturned yet.
Yeah.
And so you
Try to
leak it
get
early
Thomas.
to
Try to
try
get
to
Justice
get those,
Thomas to flip
to
on
get
this.
those guys who are saying that they're going to write this to overturn it to change their minds.
Well, they shouldn't be too afraid because
all they're basically doing is they're just basically doxing the Supreme Court justices. And
honestly,
good on you. I mean, I give you a soft clap for trying, but they
and
ain't
honestly,
gonna
the
budge.
person who did it, it was the Secretary of Justice.
Supposedly Sotomayor,
Justice Sotomayor.
which she should
Number
be
one,
impeached if it
number
was.
one, her secretary
Should be fired on spot.
not just fired,
It's a federal
arrested.
Yeah.
That's federal crime. You should be arrested. Number two, I can never say her name.
Sotomayor.
She should be
She should be impeached.
impeached, and they should be bringing. But unfortunately, the
it's-
Democrats
because-
control the House of
Well,
Representatives,
but
and they do the impeaching.
Here's the thing, and the reason why this is so bad is because the Supreme Court is meant to be a silo. It's meant to be.
Yep.
It's meant to be. It's meant to be quieted in chambers. Everything's kept in secret and all that for a reason.
But for like the last
this is-
5 decades, they've made it public.
It's a branch of our government that keeps the other branches in order.
In check.
Each branch keeps the other branch in check, and if you break that silo, it becomes touchable, right? So that basically means then, because that's the judicial branch, right?
Yep.
Okay, so what branch do you think is trying to influence, I don't know, the Supreme Court to get them to not overturn Roe v. Wade?
The Senate and the House.
Right. So that is going to be the ones that are trying to manipulate, right, and touch that.
And you know what the next argument
So-
would be?
so-
Now we got to have more justices so that we can not let this happen again.
But again, that can be an argument. But the point is that what they're doing is they're cracking the silo, and if the silo cracks, then it becomes touchable and it becomes able to be manipulated from outside foreign branches of government. And that's really where that is really the biggest problem with the leak. The leak, if for a conservative, they might look at it and go, "Oh, that's great news." It is
great
silver
news.
lining great news, but it's really not great because that leak is actually
It's already started. If you go,
it's very bad. It's a very bad precedence being
if
set.
you go
and it's
everywhere
not
but
gonna be
Twitter at the moment, they're not complaining on Twitter right now because they're all mad about Twitter to begin with. So they're complaining everywhere else about this. So it's all coming out, and it's again a lot of bad. Just like with everything else that comes out when the Democrats like to play these games, the real truth is never fully known, and they make a lot of things up, like the whole "don't say gay" bill that never said "don't say gay."
Yeah. Your abortions are being taken away from you.
No, they're not. Like you get these, they jump on one side of the pendulum,
And by the way, it wasn't released. It was leaked.
Yep.
Stop saying it was released. It was leaked. It's a leak. It's not supposed to happen. It wasn't intentional. Judge Alito didn't go, "Hey, by the way, I'm going to post this on my Instagram and let everybody know what we're deciding." No, they didn't do that. Okay, it wasn't released intentionally. It was leaked. It was unintentional. It shouldn't have happened. So, and if we can wrap this thing up with one little thing, I want to encourage all the brothers and sisters that are out there that believe in the power of prayer, and
I know I do.
If you're also a brother and a sister in the Lord that values life like we do, and you see the promise of what's coming in this overturning of Roe v. Wade, yes. But
All right, we're back.
yes. But I want to encourage.
He held his breath the whole time.
I did not. But I want to call on you guys, and I don't do this often, but I don't even do this in our times when we're together at church and all. But I am going to do it tonight, and I'm going to call all of you guys today, and continuing on until we get this affirmed.
Yep.
Get on your hands and knees. Pray that this goes through. Pray, because this isn't just a victory for, like we said, for that innocent life that's in the womb.
It's a victory for America.
But it's a victory for our country. It is a victory for getting us back into godly stances. It's a getting us away from the devil worship, and I will call it that.
Oh yeah.
That was the wanting
an
to
absolute
just
sacrifice.
murder infants and babies, and the the plague that it has brought upon this nation. Those that have committed these crimes and these heinous evils, look, I believe that you can repent. I believe that you can come to the Lord and repent for those things. But I believe that we can get this through prayer. We can make this wave happen. God will move in a mightily way, and through these Supreme Court justices. And one last thing, thanks Donald Trump, because Amy Coney Barrett was the one that tipped the scale. So and
Yes.
that was a wonderful selection by you, and thumbs up to you. And you know what?
Definitely better than
let's
that
get it
Kavanaugh guy.
You know, he was on the line too, so you know you can't be mad at him either, because he sided with Alito on this one.
Oh, he did?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, good.
Roberts, Alito, Barrett.
Wow, Roberts actually flipped?
No, Roberts isn't. No, I'm sorry. Who's the
He's
other?
the one that says he's Republican, but he's actually
he's not.
Democrat.
No, I don't know if Roberts is on it or not. Alito, it's Alito, Barrett. Who am I forgetting? Kavanaugh.
And then there should be one more.
Why can't I think of his name?
Thomas.
Thank you. Not Roberts, Thomas.
Clarence Thomas, baby.
You know, Thomas Roberts. It's kind of like it sounds like the guy from Wendy's.
Dave Roberts.
Dave Thomas.
Oh, yeah,
It's just a very, very, very like simple common name. But yeah, so you know what?
Pray for our justices. Pray for this country.
Pray for the justices. Pray for them to continue to stand on it and see it through. And
if you think that God can't change a judge's mind, or if God can't change, I can tell you without giving detail, I've had a situation for the last 3 weeks where it literally came down to praying for God to change the mind of a judge in a situation, not for myself, for somebody else, and he did. Yeah. All right, and that's in the state of New Jersey. He changed the mind of a judge. That's like changing Pharaoh's mind. I mean, so it can be done. Whether they are right-leaning, left-leaning, whatever their lean is. Doesn't matter where their heart is. God can go, nope, I'm going to flip your switch, and you're going to do this way.
Amen.
So, yeah, we thank you for, we were a little different, a little off the cuff, because of... Just because we wanted to bring this out. This is something that happened in the last 2 days. This is something that happened in the last 2 days, and it does fit into our American values. We will be doing, let me see, I had it up earlier, the third. We're just going to skip the Pledge of Allegiance one, because we already talked about it.
Yeah.
So in 2 weeks, we are doing honoring our vows. Not our vowels, but honoring our vows. And sometimes why? Robin Williams. Oh, I miss you, man.
But yeah, so
in 2 weeks. Today's the 3rd. So in 2 weeks, on my birthday, we're going to talk about honoring our vows.
You gonna be 40?
Yes, I am 40, baby.
We go 40. I'll throw it out there. I don't care.
I don't care either.
Good.
But anyway, so thank you for
joining. If you did care, I'd get you a vagina hat. Because women are the only ones that really care about their age. And not having it disclosed publicly.
I would only want one so that I could sneak into their little rallies and have fun.
I'm a man. I'm 40.
Say it with your chest.
No, don't do that. No, you'll get in trouble. Don't do that. Don't do that at all.
You want to go night, son?
No.
But anyway, thank you for joining us on The Stoop. That is at the corner of church and state where there is no separation. Cool. We will see you in 2 weeks. Good night.
Linktree and all that jazz.
Oh yeah, shoot! I almost forgot all about that.
Yeah, I got you, bud.
This is what happens when I haven't had an hour and a half.
That's why I'm here.
Listen, you can catch me on all my Twitter, Facebooks, and everything else. All that'll be down here on the screen. And if you're listening to this, it's in the bio. There is a link tree. Click on it. You can find all things that have to do with the podcast and where you can talk to us. Email for the podcast, everything like that. Even look into PBW.
And I'm the church guy.
And this guy over here.
.com.
Yeah, go to streamslife.com. Not only can you hear messages that he's been preaching, last couple ones have been pretty good.
Thank you.
If you're a bit of a cinephile, he's been pulling from a movie a little bit. I'm not going to tell you what one, because if you really want to know, you listen to the sermons.
There you go.
Or if you happen to be in southern New Jersey, around 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning, you can go onto the website and also get our address and come in and worship with us.
That's it.
And we would be glad to have you, and we welcome you with open arms, and we would love to worship with you. So, as I said before, we will see you in 2 weeks.
Yeah. Oh, and yeah, prayer requests.
I did forget.
Yes.
Again, this is a new thing. This is a new thing that they want to do.
Yeah.
Listen, if you have any prayer requests,
I got you, man.
go on to either into the link tree and click on the church and state email address and do it through there, or
You
again,
can even go in the comments in here and just
or
put
in the comments. If you have
We'll
prayer
check in the comments.
requests, put it out there. Go on to Twitter, whatever, however you want to do it, you can. Probably the best one would probably be the Facebook group that we have for Church and State, which is again in the link tree. Because there's a lot of people that are already in there who would also pray with you. So it's not just us; it would be other people. It's community. So yes, if you have prayer requests, please bring them. We believe wholeheartedly in the power of prayer.
That's why we're asking.
Our founding pastor used to always say, once the saints start praying, they ain't got a chance.
That's it.
And it's facts.
Yep.
So, back to where I was before I get rudely interrupted again. Did I forget anything? Did I forget the kitchen sink? Should I bring the kitchen sink in too?
Yes.
Okay, I should? Oh, okay. So, in 2 weeks on May 17th, I will see you here at the corner of Church and State where there is no separation. You guys have a good night and peace.
God bless, guys.
In America, it's freedom ain't free. In America, and soldiers dying overseas. So America, you say what we believe. My America, I won't ever take a knee. Our freedom is the reason you can disrespect our flag. If my stars and stripes offend you, then I'll help you pack your bags. America.